All right, we're live. Tonight we're going to be talking with Meg Ranes, one of my friends and former spirit school students. So we were just having some tech problems, so let's see if this works. So I see you coming on. Hi, Megan. Let's check if this works, y'all. Come on. Accept.
I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, it's like weird because I only hear like half of what you're saying.
What the heck? Sorry. I don't
It's
know
okay.
why it's like that.
I hear you now.
If I'm down here, can you not hear me? Because maybe it's the little thing that I had it like propped up.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Maybe it's like blocking the sound or something.
Yeah, I hear you now.
Well, let's try something different. Hi.
Hello.
Let me just try this method. I'm house sitting right now, so I don't have all my normal things.
I'm house sitting also.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Can you hear a dog in the background? I hope not.
No. The dog I'm watching is asleep.
Okay. If I'm down here, can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's this thing.
Oh, yeah.
That's like trapped in there. Awesome. Okay, well, we solved that issue. Hi. Tonight we're talking with Megan. And Megan's one of my good friends. We've been friends for a very long time. But you also took my spirit school psychic development class last year. So tonight we're going to be talking about your experience and just kind of chatting and talking about that class and just what any reflections that you have. And I have some questions.
Okay.
Pretty casual. Do you want to just introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Megan or Meg. I'm an artist. I study astrology and tarot, and I love Grace, big fan. I did spirit school with Grace, and I took Reiki 1 with Grace as well afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah, and you've been on the podcast, so you've been on my podcast talking about astrology. So if you want to hear about that, then you can always go back and listen to that episode. But yeah, I just like right now we're enrolling people in the next semester, so I'm starting class again like a week from now almost. So next Saturday, April 9th, and that's going to be Saturdays for 8 weeks live. So I'm just kind of like promoting and talking about the class and just wanting to share with people like their experiences of people that actually took the class so that people can kind of get an idea of like how this might be helpful to them and just like kind of for me also it's good to get feedback but also just like to present that information to people like okay like this is what was helpful. So yeah.
Sounds good.
Well, so yeah, you took the class with me last year. We do live classes and then there's a bunch of like self-paced material. So the class itself is extensive. There's a lot of different topics that we covered. So I'm just curious if there's anything that you want to share as far as like what you found the most helpful in terms of like the types of material that we did, because we had the live classes and then there's also meditations and journaling. So I'm just curious like what was the most interesting to you?
I really like the live classes. Like it was so like practice oriented, and being able to get like any questions answered or like feedback, and then like hear like my other classmates' experiences was like super helpful for me, instead of just like watching like pre-recorded classes or something. Like the fact that it was like so interactive, and then like the chat we had and every like the group chat we had going and everything, like just the fact that you know, like there's just kind of like we had our like little community going, that was super helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really like, I was kind of debating after I did your class, like, do I want this to be just something that people can buy and do on their own time, like on my website or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
And that, because that's been something that people are like, oh, I want to take the class, but it doesn't work for my schedule or whatever. And maybe I will do that eventually, but I was like gonna do it, and then something in me is just saying that it's my dog. The dog is like having a dream right now. Something in me is saying like, okay, that is cool and interesting, but to be live, I think can be a lot more dynamic and helpful. So,
Yeah, I think dynamic's a good word.
because sometimes it's like with this type of material too, it is so experiential, like psychic work, intuitive work, just connecting with your body and your mind. It's like you could read about that all day, but if you don't have any like, exercises to try that out for yourself, like it's not it's not like it isn't beneficial, but it's not like you're going anywhere, you're just gaining information.
Mm-hmm.
She's like dreaming so hard right now. So yeah, we talked about a lot in the class, like the clair senses, the psychic senses. So I'm curious, like for you, what do you feel like your strongest sense is?
Claircognizance, like clear knowing, and clairsentience also, but more so after I took like Reiki 1 with you.
The feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you feel like, so for you, I know before you took this class, you had been looking into tarot like for years and working on astrology for years, but even before this. So I'm curious, like, has, and I know we talked about it a little, like us, but just for people to hear, like,
Yeah.
has this class like shifted the way that you are working with those tools?
Yeah, definitely with tarot. I've always had a hard time reading for myself. It's always been easier to read for other people because, you know, I have like my own inner monologue going and stories happening. And the main reason I did spirit school was because I was really interested in trying to sparse out like the difference between intuition and anxiety, because they feel kind of similar for me. So like I guess becoming more confident with my intuition, and then like a lot of the like body practices that we did where like we would do the body scans and seeing where we would feel things in our body, like that wound up being like super helpful information for when I do my tarot stuff. Like like I don't doubt myself as much anymore. And like I told you this, but I'll tell the world now. But like right after we did like the initiation, like the first tarot spread I did, I knew every single card before I flipped it over. Like in my head, it was just like telling me like I just heard the name of the card in my head, and I'd flip it over, and it was like, oh my god. And it happened like 4 cards in a row. So like that's like a really great example where it's just like I feel like I guess more in touch with it versus just kind of like hoping for the best when I read for myself and trying to like figure out if it's like me overthinking or if it's like something that I'm actually feeling.
Yeah, and I think that can be so it's difficult when you're reading for yourself because you know everything about your,
Yeah.
and when else there isn't that like bias of like, oh well, maybe I'm just like hoping or wishing, like you're saying. Like,
Yeah.
so to be able to like start building up that confidence is great. So, and then each week when we met for the live classes, we did energy healing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just curious about your experience, because it's like, I know now we did our Reiki training, so now you can practice on yourself and do all of those kinds of things that go on with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm curious to hear about like to do that for that many weeks in a row, like how that felt going through that experience. It's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I took spirit school during like a really transitional period of my life. I was in a not so great relationship, and I was like plagued by a lot of anxiety. So like I definitely felt it affecting like the whole like anxiety versus intuition thing. So like meeting every week, like it just felt so grounding. And ultimately, like I was able to start like my own kind of like meditation practice, just by like having that routine of the class. I have a hard time motivating myself to do things like that. So like that was like instrumental for me to like develop my own practice of meditation. And yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like, as far as, because we in the class we do a bunch of different kinds of meditation, we do like more the body focused stuff like you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
scanning, but we also do like visualization and like journey meditation where we're, trying to go to somewhere.
Yeah,
Do you feel like the body focused meditation was the easiest for you?
absolutely. Yeah. um I've always had a hard time feeling grounded, so like the more body-based meditations like really helped me, like I don't know, like tether my soul back into my body, like it felt like, whereas like my mind is just kind of floating. Like I feel like that was like so helpful for just like getting back into myself, you know.
Yeah, the physical body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you feel like when you can take those ideas and just go through that on your own without having to listen to the guidance.
Yeah, I do like a body scan every night before I go to bed. I do like a little meditation and then start at the feet and work all the way up, and it really helps. Like I can feel like the tension just like release when I do that practice. So it's definitely been really helpful for me.
Are you like bringing in Reiki with that now?
Yeah.
So cool. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
as much as possible. Yeah. Kind of related, unrelated. We had like the new moon in Aries last night on the West Coast. Every other time zone it was today. But I made like a Reiki bath for myself.
I
Like,
saw.
yeah, so like right when like the new moon like exacted its conjunction with the sun, I was like floating in the salty Reiki bath. And like I felt like I was like reborn when I came out of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what are you? You're just like sending the energy into the water?
So I had this little bath bomb, and like first I put it into the bath bomb, and then when I released it into the water, then I had like my hands in the water for a while until I felt like I didn't need to have my hands in the water anymore, and closed out and then hopped in.
Oh, that's awesome. I love to hear it.
Yeah, it was nice. Definitely recommend it.
And with the other kind of visualizations we did in the classes, do you feel like it was easier to do like live when we were all there more than like at home?
Mm,
Or do you think it's kind of the same
I
experience?
th- I feel like it was a little situational depending on like my
How-
like energy levels and just like mood of the day. Like sometimes I had like a hard time like really being present in the group stuff, just because I am like a very distractible person, but other times it was no problem at all.
And I know we did one exercise around the visualizing, like with a candle and working
Mm-hmm.
on like the eye expansion, whatever you want to call that, like being able to
Yeah.
more clearly. Do you feel like something like that was helpful versus just listening to like me describe things, like a visualization
Yeah, it was super helpful.
thing they are actually doing?
Yeah, I'm somebody who learns best by like doing it. Like I like to watch somebody do it and then I like to do it. That's how I learn. So that it becomes kind of like a muscle memory for me. Um, so yeah, definitely.
Well, I had some, let me look at my notes so I don't forget, because otherwise I'll just talk about other random things.
Okay.
um so you kind of already answered this, but like what would what would you say was your intention like behind taking the class? And do you feel like that kind of shifted during the class, or you felt like it was the same kind of idea throughout?
Yeah, so my intention was to learn to separate my intuition from what is anxiety or mental chatter. And I feel like as the class progressed, and then even today, I'm still working on it. Like it's a practice. It doesn't
Yeah,
really end.
life,
So
lifelong.
yeah. Um, so like, I mean, the more that I do things that use my intuition, I feel like the stronger it gets and like the more confident I am in trusting it, which is really helpful. Just even in life in general, not even having to do with like more esoteric subjects.
Yeah, and that's kind of what, like, at least one of my intentions behind teaching the class is like, oh, it's cool. We can learn about how to read cards or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but really that like day-to-day application of being able to understand like what's mine, what is someone else's, like if I'm experiencing this right now, like I'm not crazy, like this is all normal, and it's just like understanding how to approach that for yourself so it's not overwhelming,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a lot to it's a lot of information, like psychic information. When you open up, it's like so many things going on. So to have like at least what my idea with the class is to give people like these exercises so that they can, develop or connect with whatever is most relevant for them.
Mm-hmm.
Because I give people this whole library essentially, and I don't expect one to do every single exercise. It's more about, okay, these are the options. So for you, like the body scan might have been more helpful than some of the other kinds of meditations. And then for someone else, they really got into the journal, because we did journal practices,
Mm-hmm.
meditations, and breath work. Like it was a lot
Yeah,
of stuff.
the journaling was really helpful too. Like that's like a practice that I had given up. Basically when I hit like my like teenage years up until I took this class, and I'm 31 now. And like journaling always used to be so cathartic and helpful, just getting all the words out on the paper, and those journal prompts were so helpful. And now like when I am feeling kind of overwhelmed, like I'll kind of like take that same idea where it's like I'll kind of like create prompts for myself and then just like free flow, right? And then it tends to like help me sort things out a lot. So that was really helpful also.
Yeah, and I think like it's so easy for like the internet, to become like the place that you write and the place that you share. And it's like some of that stuff, okay, it's great to share with everyone, but sometimes it's like we forget that there is value in like just doing stuff for yourself. And like especially
Absolutely.
like you're displaying yourself all the time, through those different mediums. And I know for you, like, you're a photographer, so it's like, yeah, you're capturing an image, but you're also bringing forward like your feelings, your thoughts, like your view. So
Mm-hmm.
have something that's like, okay, I can do this just for me, and then maybe that will form your practice too.
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, like with like the internet, like you said, it's like a lot of us will write our thoughts on there, you know, and we like, I think we like subconsciously like kind of edit ourselves when we are presenting to an audience, or maybe even not subconsciously. Like, you know, you could consciously like have kind of like a border up or like a wall up when you are expressing yourself. So like just having a space where like you don't have to like worry about being perceived, and you could just like sit in like your own solitude. And I find that it's like a lot more helpful like in the long run, like looking back, because then it's like I have everything written down in my notebook, like dreams, thoughts, vents, like tarot spreads, like it's just everything. And it's like I can flip through and like visually see where I was at, and like not judge myself because I'm the only one seeing it. So
Yeah, it's so helpful. Like I really wish I had all my like journals and stuff from like being a little kid. Like I threw all that stuff away. But at some point I feel like, yeah, like with live journal and things and like blogs and like it exploded into where we are,
yeah.
that it, like everything was digitalized, that I wish I had that. And that's why it's like so important for me now to do that, especially around the psychic work, because it's like, okay, this weird thing happened, and then 3 months later you're like, oh, now all that shit makes sense. Like I had no
Yeah.
on, but I get it now. And if I didn't write it down, I would probably forget.
I also think like the actual like somatic practice of moving your hand to write, you feel more embodied in what you're doing, and it feels more real almost. Like it feels like you're more like connected with like what you're saying versus like it's just so easy to type, you know. It's like, especially, you know, all of us who grew up with the internet, you know, we don't even think, you know, we can close our eyes and like type a paragraph, you know. And it's like the act of actually putting pen to paper is like so different.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I recently just started, because I have like 10 different notebooks. I have one that's like for like, this is my spirit school notebook. All my spirit school stuff goes in here. And then I have one that's more for my dreams and stuff. But I recently started like a diary, like just to write about what happened during my day. Because I'm like, okay, I want to be able to look at this years from now, and I'm like, oh, when I'm 31, I had dinner with Sally, and like I want that information. So I'm trying to be mindful about doing it, but usually I'll fall asleep or I finish.
I actually got I have it right here, this like astro journal. It's by
Oh,
Honeycomb Collective, but they have like whole months, and then it goes like week by week. So like I'll write in here, and it tells me all my transits, both my personal ones and the mundane, which is like the world, you know, like the ones everyone's experiencing. And then personal, meaning that it's affecting my own placements in my chart. And journaling that way and like looking back at weird synchronicities since I've started this thing has been insane to me. Like at the end of every week, I'll just flip back and look back and be like, okay, like it seems like I'm always really moody on Mondays. Like every single Monday I write that I'm like, you know, like not feeling, you know.
what the what is the planet connected to
Sorry,
Mondays? The moon?
you just cut out.
Oh, what is the planet that is connected to Mondays?
The moon,
The moon. That's what I
which
assumed because of the
which
name.
rules,
Sure.
yeah, it rules our emotions. So obviously I'm going to be moody as hell on Monday. The moon's really prominent in my chart. So like I find myself, especially with journaling everything and I find like what certain transits affect me like every single time they happen, and it's been really interesting, and it's definitely made me look at my astrology practice a lot differently as far as like scheduling things, like if I have to have a talk with someone, or if like, you know, I'm meeting up with a friend or I'm going out of town, like now it's like I can kind of look ahead and be like, okay, well, last time this happened, you know, this is how it affected me. And just like, it helps me like keep that in mind. And it's just been super helpful.
Yeah, and I think what's so cool about like these tools is being able to apply them to like your everyday life. So
Mm-hmm.
you studying astrology, it's like that's cool and interesting. There's so much to learn, but being able to have something like this where you're applying it directly, like that's when you really see like, why is this valuable to me?
Yeah, it's been super helpful. I feel like it's helped me like learn things in a more like experiential way instead of just like kind of like an abstract thing where it was just like it felt chaotic, and now it feels like there's like a little bit of control to the chaos.
Well, there was something I was gonna say. It will come back to me. Um, as far as the class goes, like if people were interested, like what would you say to those people?
I would say if they're interested. What was the last thing you said?
I was saying, like, you know, how maybe it was the class was beneficial to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're interested in it, like, and like you feel like you're kind of pulled to learning more or curious, like check that out, because I remember when you did your first class, I was interested and I didn't do it, and then like this, you know, when it came around for the next enrollment, when I did sign up, like I kind of felt like I was being like kind of pushed to like, no, like go check this out, like why are you like I felt apprehensive because it was like, I guess like unknown, you know, but it's like kind of hard to look within sometimes if you're not ready. But I think ultimately, if like you're on the path to self-discovery and you do want to feel more embodied in your daily life as well as with like psychic senses, like I think it's definitely something that I would recommend. It helped me so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I don't think I would have learned Reiki if I hadn't taken the class, because I got to experience it every week, you know, and like see its benefits. And then it just kind of like pushed me in this other direction. And like, and just all the, yeah, bah. But like, but like you said, it's like you have all this work on there and you don't expect everyone to do it. But it's like anytime I have downtime and I'm like, I don't know what to do, like I'll go back because all that material is still there, and I'll like
Yeah, I'm so
watch one of your videos or like do a meditation or do one of the journal prompts, you know, if I'm feeling like stuck on something. And just having that like archived catalog of, you know, different like psychic and like spiritual tools to choose from and learn more about or develop, like it's, I don't know, I think it's really cool.
yeah, I'm so glad to hear that, because my intention is to create this material and we go through it, but then it's like it's a practice, like you said earlier, like okay, you can do this exercise one time and then you can do it again and you feel something different. You do it 3 weeks now, maybe it's easier. Like it's all about building up those muscles, almost the brain.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm so happy that you did Reiki.
Yeah, me too. I'm ready for number 2.
Yeah, we will definitely. I'm gonna be doing a class, but we can always do a private class too.
Okay, we'll be in touch.
I think in the end of April,
Okay, cool.
but it's not on the calendar yet. But I'll let you know.
Okay, I was kind of waiting for it to drop, but good to know.
Um, So a couple more things before we close out. I'm curious, like in the class, we talked about more like spiritual, magical, like there kind of stuff around like connecting with guides, angels, like signs, synchronicities. So I'm curious, like for you, two things. Like, do you feel like you have like understanding of some of your guides, and also do you have any specific sign that you feel like has been popping up for you? Because I'm just curious.
Um, so like as far as like signs and like synchronicity, like I definitely am more aware now in the class and like talking with you, talking with the other students. Like I'll just notice things where it's like someone will send me a song and like there will be a lyric in the song that's like a certain, vibe or like, feeling, and then it'll pop back up like the next day in a different form where it's like I'll overhear conversation going by where people will like say the same words or like things like that. It's like hard for me to pinpoint anything because it's like little things all the time where I'm just like, oh my God, like this has happened 3 times in the past day. Like this specific thing being brought up. Like I'm going to take note of that. I don't know what it means, but I'm going to write it down and see what happens. So that's been really cool. When I was like a kid, I used to get deja vu a lot. So like I feel like it's kind of like a similar feeling for me where like when I'm seeing like symbols and stuff where it's like I'll just get this like feeling where I'm like, interesting. I'm gonna pay attention to that. Like this might help me. Or like
That's
little like
later.
what was that?
A special clue for later.
Yeah, exactly. Like this could come in handy. So that's like the main thing. As far as like guides go, like I'm still really working on like clairvoyance. I still have like a really hard time like visualizing for the same reasons that you've expressed. I've just shut that part of my mind off because I used to see some weird stuff when I was a kid and it was really scary. So it's like slowly like I am able to visualize easier. Like when I do like the meditations, it's more so like colors and light that I
Mhm.
see versus like shapes and forms of things.
Totally normal. Like sometimes that expands and eventually you'll see the forms, but sometimes it's like the other senses are stronger and we can
Mm-hmm.
still connect without actually being. But I think it's comes subtly and then it starts getting louder.
Definitely. um, oh, I lost my train of thought.
Do your guides show up as, or what does your intuition say? Do your guides show up as a certain color to you?
For me, like it's more so like birds and like I've been seeing hummingbirds like crazy lately. Like I posted one in my story earlier. Like I've just been seeing hummingbirds everywhere at my house in Portland, at work. Like I work in an industrial area. Why are there hummingbirds over there? So like
That's
seeing things, yeah. So it's like seeing things like that, and where it's like in the past I'd probably just be like, oh, weird. Now I'm like, okay,
what up.
okay.
That's so cool. I did a reading like a couple months ago, and before like a call with this woman, I was like outside on my porch, and there was two hummingbirds just like standing there, like there's no either, and they were just like standing there staring at me. When I got on the, it turned out we were like connecting with some of her family and stuff that passed on, and I was like, I feel like those were her parents like showing up.
That's so cool.
It was really interesting. They're really magical, like that the specifically a bird, but all animals can be a sign, like all sorts animals, things like you're saying, conversations, and oftentimes it is those subtle things. So it's like like you're saying, noting that, what is that? Then start to evolve that over time to understand, like, what does this actually mean? And maybe we won't ever know, and that's okay too. Yeah.
I
Well, thank you.
definitely think like in the past, like I've definitely seen like hawks also. I remember maybe oh wait, it's 2022. This was 7 years ago. I did a bunch of psychedelics, and it's the first time I've like astral projected, was that experience. And I remember after like coming back into my body, like the first thing I saw, I was camping, so I opened the tent, and as soon as I came out of the tent, like I just saw this hawk flying overhead, and I remember just like feeling like this is okay, like you're safe, like you're being watched. And like, and it's like at the time I discounted it because I was like, oh, I was, I ate a hero's dose of mushrooms, like. But now I'm like, okay, like I see these things still, like all the time, like where it's like if I look up to the sky, and I'll see it, I'm like, okay, like I feel like less alone, I guess.
I think too, like, not for everyone, but I think for some people, psychedelics can be a really helpful, like, catalyst. Like, if
Absolutely.
so rigid and they try something like that, it might, open up parts of their mind that they weren't aware of. And then for other people, it might just be like a thinning, I guess, of like the veils or something. Like,
Yeah, definitely.
perceive things you wouldn't normally. And most people are like, oh, I'm just high. But more to it than that, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. It can be a great catalyst. And I used to think that like that was the only way I could experience those things, but like I've had a couple meditations that felt psychedelic. Like I had colors flashing, and my body was like hot and cold and vibrating. Like I felt like I was like on psychedelics, but I was sober in my bed meditating, and like it felt, I don't know, it felt so hopeful and so cool to me that I could, experience that part of my mind like on my own, with like my own will. And like it felt like very powerful.
Yes. Yeah. And I know, well, we don't have to talk about this, but I know you also stopped drinking in the last, what, year? 2 years?
Yeah, it,
So I
it was like in
heard
the
that.
middle of spirit school.
Say that again?
It was in the middle of spirit school when I made that decision. Coincidence?
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah. And I think too, like, even if people don't use substances in an addictive way or in an unhealthy way, it can
Hmm.
still be like a crutch, and to see that you can go to those places in your mind or your heart like without that, and even just like socializing and talking without
Yeah.
things, it really, I think, can be super healing to know I have everything that I need to experience
Hmm.
all the
That's
different.
been that's been pushing me through each day of my sobriety, where I'm just like, I have all the tools that I need. Like everything that I'm looking for, I have. I just need to I just need to use it.
It's like forgetting, like, and when, especially when you are in a state of anxiety or fear, it's like you feel like you're there forever. So
Hmm.
to like have those tiny touchstones, like if that's seeing something like a hawk or a bird, like just to remind you, okay, I'm not alone. There are guides, spirits, things around me that are there to support me.
Hmm. Definitely.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. I feel like I've changed into a different person since this time last year, because we started spirit school in April last year, right?
I, well, I
Or was
think
it March?
in a, I think so. I can't remember because I know we were in the springtime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was just around this time. I feel like I'm a different person now in like a good way.
Yeah, I think it's like, you know, the class that I'm sure was helpful, but just to have that momentum of, like we were saying, meeting each week for 8,
Mm-hmm.
having someone to connect with, the group to connect with, like that is like that is healing in itself, just to have that, like,
Definitely.
um what is the word I want to say, like the comfort of like, okay, I'm not in this shit by myself.
Yeah. Yeah, it was so helpful. I like it was like the highlight of my week every week that we had class.
Didn't you break your arm around then too?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, lots of
uh, yeah, luckily I got all that Reiki healing. Did I tell you my physical therapist said that I healed miraculously fast?
wow, that is so interesting.
Yeah. I only did half of my scheduled physical therapy appointment. She graduated me early because I healed so fast.
That's thing. That's so,
Yeah.
it's something too that, like, when I took Reiki, the really the only like contraindications were like immediate broken bone, like, because you don't want to send Reiki if they haven't placed it to correctly, and then, like, then they'll have to re-break it or something.
Yeah.
And then the other one was like, if someone has like a severe illness, you would want to do like shorter sessions because you don't want to overwhelm their system. But it's so interesting that it was like helpful in that speeding like the
Yeah.
healing. That's so cool.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that was connected to my healing for sure.
That is so interesting. So with the Reiki, what is like the most what is the like the the way that you're using it the most for yourself? Like doing hands on, or are you doing more like putting it into stuff?
Both pretty evenly. I've been really into like charging moon water every new and full moon and like, putting that Reiki in that jar and like that's become like a new ritual for me. I guess that's the other thing Spirit School helped with was creating like more motivation to do these rituals on these lunations and like motivate me to like connect with like the divine. Um because like I'm seeing results every time that I do a practice or a ritual, like tangible results within like, like within like a short period of time that I can look back on because I document everything and I'm like, interesting. My intention has already come true. Okay, like what's my next intention? Like what are we doing next? And like yeah, just the infusing's been really cool. I've been like going ham with that lately. That's been really fun. And like putting up barriers, in my room and my car and stuff and just like charging stones with it as well as like I'll smudge them and then charge them. So it's like it's just added like an extra dimension to my practice that I was already doing before.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in Spirit School, for people who watch this later, we meet like for 8 weeks and we do practices together, and then I also do energy healing at the end of each class, like as a group, like through meditation. And Megan took Reiki training, Reiki 1 with me after the class. So I think it was cool to just see, okay, this is sparks your interest,
Mm-hmm.
learning on it. And that could be taking a Reiki class with me, or that could be someone could love the breath work and then they end up finding a breathwork person and they get hella into that. It's my intention is to open people's eyes, open doors for people to say, okay, this might be interesting to you. Why don't you learn more about it? Or why don't you practice more, or you know crawl down those hallways?
Yeah, I feel like everyone in the class kind of went in kind of their own direction with like the material. Like I feel like we all connected with like different aspects of it, which was really cool because everyone's so unique, you know, and different. Like we're not all gonna like be drawn to the same thing. So like that was just really interesting seeing like how the other students were connecting with the work too and what they're drawn to.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. It's been really fulfilling. So it's good to hear that from you.
Of course.
Um, well, is there anything else you want to share about the class before we close our little live video?
Oh, I guess the last thing, like the affirmations that you would post every week, like I always had a hard time with affirmations previously, but now like I write that shit on sticky notes everywhere, like in my room, in my car, in my notebook, like just having something to like kind of like repeat is like a mantra, like, and I'll focus on one at a time. Like I had like a big, you know, bout of like seasonal depression this past winter, and like just having like affirmations like for that, like mine was just like I take each day at a time. I take each day at a time. It's so simple, but like it wound up being very helpful because I'm someone who tends to spiral into the future or fall back into the past. So like it was very helpful for like I guess like just like mindfulness and being more present and in the moment, like working with affirmations. Because I had only really seen them as like Instagram inspirational posts before, and you know, like
It can be
just
feel cringy, like, oh, what am
yeah,
I good? But when you to see it is one thing, and then to speak it is another, and then to like hear it and all those things,
and feel it too.
it it goes through us. It's and words are very, words are spells, words are magic. So if we, you know, try to frame it in a different way or know like, okay, this isn't like the only thing, like if I'm like, I am rich, like every day, that's like not the only thing that's gonna make you have money in your bank account. But like to remind yourself, I think it can be helpful too to see where your blocks are, because you're like, I am rich, or whatever it is, like I am healthy, I am healing. Like if that feels uncomfortable to you, like maybe there's a block there to know, okay, maybe I feel weird about healing. I'm not ready to look at this thing or that thing. It can kind of like show you, like, oh, that's still kind of weird for me.
I 100% agree. I feel like the ones that are like the hardest to say to yourself are the ones that you probably need to focus on the most.
Yeah.
At
And
least in my experience.
yeah. I'll record myself doing it too, like sometimes, and just listen to my own voice. And that was in a class I took, and it was really helpful for me just to like hear my own voice. And I think that was healing as well, because to listen to yourself sometimes feels odd.
Yeah, definitely. It feels hard to connect because it sounds a little different than the voice in your head. But I definitely agree. I've gotten a lot less self-conscious about that. I mean, the fact that I'm on this live video right now speaks to that. Like, I think if you asked me a year ago to do something like this, I would have been like,
I don't think you would have said
I
yes.
don't think I would have said yes. So, yeah.
And I'm proud, you came on the podcast, like just being able to share these things that are interesting to you, that so many people might know you from different aspects of your life, and the art you do, like friends circles are always different, so it's to push yourself to be seen in all different aspects, I think is very amazing. So I'm happy for you.
Thanks.
Well, thank you for coming on. And I'm gonna save this video so people can go back. I know it's Friday night too, so I feel like people are like doing something different. But I'm gonna do this so people can go back and listen. And then as far as this class goes, if people are interested, you can sign up on my website. There's a link in my bio, and the class begins like really soon. So April 9th, almost a week from now, a week and a day. So if you want to sign up, that's how you do it. Anything else, Megan?
Thank you for having me. It's always great talking to you. Like I said earlier, like my like spirit school just helped me, like not even just like with my psychic senses, but just in my overall quality of life, and with, you know, making practices and rituals for myself, just in the mundane, has just been instrumental towards all the self work and growth that I've been working on this past year. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for trusting me and taking this class and pushing yourself. So I love you.
I
And
love you.
I'll text you and we'll connect about setting up a session. And
Hell
I'll let
yeah.
you know about Reiki too, as well.
Okay.
And if you take Reiki with me, always just go to my website. It's all there. All right. I love you. Have a
I
wonderful
love you.
day. All for listening, and we will talk to you later. Bye bye.
Bye.